In 2025, a major shift in U.S. foreign policy sent shockwaves across Africa. U.S. President Donald Trump, returning to office with a bold America First agenda, announced the complete withdrawal of USAID operations from several African countries, including Burkina Faso. For many nations, the decision felt like a sudden blow. USAID had played a major role in funding development, healthcare, and education projects across the continent for decades. But while some governments expressed concern or confusion, one leader stood out for his calm and resolute response. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional president of Burkina Faso, did not panic. He did not appeal for reconsideration. Instead, he took the microphone and delivered a powerful message to his people and to the world: we must stop depending on others for our survival. This is the time to rise. Who is Ibrahim Traoré? Captain Traoré is a 36-year-old military officer who became the leader of Burkina Faso in 2022 after a coup that ousted the previous junta. His rise to power was fueled by frustration over worsening insecurity, economic stagnation, and foreign interference, especially from former colonial powers like France. Since taking office, Traoré has positioned himself as a voice for African sovereignty, regional cooperation, and economic self-reliance. His speeches often emphasize dignity, independence, and the importance of African solutions to African problems. The Trump decision: cutting off aid. When President Donald Trump re-entered the White House in January 2025, he quickly reinstated several policies from his previous term, this time more decisively. One of them was cutting off large chunks of foreign aid under USAID. According to the White House statement, the move was based on the belief that American taxpayers should no longer be responsible for funding unstable or non-strategic governments. The announcement covered a dozen African nations, including Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and the Central African Republic. In past years, such a move might have caused panic, but this time, Traoré's government was already preparing for life after aid. Era of rice agriculture first, feeding Burkina Faso. One of Traoré's earliest reforms was in agriculture. Recognizing that food security is central to independence, his government launched an aggressive plan to boost local food production. In just 1 year, Burkina Faso increased domestic rice production to the point where it began exporting surplus to neighboring countries. This achievement was supported by local cooperatives, irrigation investments, and national policy shifts that gave farmers access to equipment and training. The country also began wheat cultivation on over 100 hectares, an important step toward reducing dependency on imported flour and cereals. In the words of Traoré, a nation that cannot feed itself cannot call itself free. Hospital healthcare without dependency. Another area where USAID had been deeply involved was healthcare. To ensure that basic medical needs were not compromised by the aid withdrawal, the Traoré administration committed national resources to healthcare infrastructure. In Bobo-Dioulasso, the country's second-largest city, a massive 500-bed teaching hospital is under construction. Once completed, it will become one of the most modern public hospitals in the Sahel, offering advanced care, medical training, and thousands of jobs. This project is funded entirely by the Burkinabe government with support from regional partners, none of it from Western donors. It is a symbol of what the country can achieve when it stops waiting for help and starts building on its own. Factory industrial growth, the Pasta Factory project. Burkina Faso's government also announced the opening of what is now Africa's largest pasta production facility. Built in partnership with investors from Qatar and Turkey, the factory is producing affordable food for domestic markets and exports. The facility employs hundreds of Burkinabe workers and is part of a broader effort to process local produce rather than exporting raw goods. It also reduces the country's reliance on imported packaged food, a key step in Traoré's vision of economic independence. shifting alliances and African solidarity. In response to foreign aid cuts and political pressure from the West, Burkina Faso has turned more toward intra-African collaboration and new global partnerships. Traoré has strengthened the alliance of Sahel states, a regional bloc including Mali and Niger, focused on military cooperation, resource sharing, and infrastructure projects. These nations are working together to create common defense strategies and reduce foreign military presence in their territories. Additionally, Burkina Faso has deepened ties with non-Western powers like Russia and Turkey, both of whom are providing technical and security support without the same political conditions often attached to Western aid. Speech balloon public opinion. What do the people say inside Burkina Faso? Ibrahim Traoré's popularity remains high, especially among the youth and rural communities. Many see him as a man of action, someone who speaks their language and refuses to be intimidated by global powers. Citizens have responded positively to the local production boom, job creation, and the sense of national pride that comes with growing self-sufficiency. Outside the country, opinions are mixed. Critics argue that cutting ties with major donors like the US could hurt long-term development. Supporters, however, say this is the beginning of a stronger, more independent Africa led by young leaders like Traoré who are unafraid to challenge the status quo. A final word: crisis or catalyst? What many viewed as a crisis, President Trump's cancellation of USAID programs has, for Burkina Faso, become a catalyst. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the country is choosing to stand on its own, building from within rather than begging from outside. It's a story of resilience, reinvention, and rising above expectations. Only time will tell how successful this new path will be. But one thing is clear: in 2025, Burkina Faso is no longer waiting for foreign aid to define its future. And Captain Ibrahim Traoré is determined to prove that even in the heart of West Africa, true sovereignty is still possible.